Welcome to Chit Chat and Chill. Are you afraid to speak in public, even like in a room of like 15 people? Or what if it was 500 people? Or what if it was 5,000? Does that just like make your palms sweat and give you anxiety? We're going to talk about speaking in public next. Welcome to Chit Chat and Chill. We are here with a great topic today about public speaking. But before we get into that, let me introduce myself. I am Lora Fickett. I am the owner of Fickett Financial Education and Business Coaching, where I want to help you make more money and be wealthy. And you're like, how can that happen? Let's do a free consultation. There are thousands of ideas in my head on how to make you feel more prosperous and more wealthy in your day-to-day life, whether you're an individual or a business owner. I love to help businesses grow as well. So let's chat. But before we do a little chit chat, let's introduce Antoinette.
Hello, I'm Antoinette. I'm the owner of Pixel This. So, is your brand or business also kind of afraid to talk in public or look terrible in public? I think a lot of people just go on avoidance mode. They think, oh, as long as I have something out there, or, I'll get to that later. Like, no, like you don't understand how much a presence and image and all that actually means for your business. So let your logo and business and ads do the talking for you. No, but I think it's a really good topic. So, I don't know. I think there's several genes that I think I was lacking at birth. And one of them
This could be a whole nother podcast.
And I have a few, but one is just that kind of where that embarrassment gene, where you do something and you feel embarrassed. Like, I couldn't care less. Like, and I think that might be the reason why I think a lot of people have issues with speaking in public, because they don't want to get embarrassed that they're going to say something or fumble, or, I think it's almost they're afraid they're going to look bad to somebody else. Or so I've never really had that. I've just always been like, you don't like me, leave,
There's a therapist somewhere watching right now that's like, oh, I would love to delve into Antoinette's brain to see why she feels that way, where it stems from, her child psychology, blah, blah, blah. But it has served your purpose for your whole life. So it's helped you be more outgoing.
Yeah.
I think it's very similar to dancing. So one of my really good friends is a dance instructor, and I think it's the like embarrassment or feeling stupid or like, people are going to laugh at you or, what they think. And so all the time when I get up in front of an audience, and I did go to like professional speakers, seminars and things like that, but when I get in front of a group, the first thing I say is like, God, give me the words that everybody needs to hear. And so I don't think about myself. It's like, I know I'm standing there in front of everybody, but I'm making eye contact, and you've seen me speak. Like, I'm looking at everybody and I'm like, what do they need? Like, I'm focused on everybody out in the audience. I'm not focused on myself. And so that I really think has helped me be able to stand up in front of it, because it's not about me. It's about everybody out there. I'm taking their time, and I need to give them information that's valuable for them. It has absolutely nothing to do with me.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, that's how I wasn't always great at public speaking, though. I think I started really standing in front of a group. Public speaking is so funny. I worked for a company, a direct sales company that sold home decorating products. And that was like going into people's home and standing up there and trying to talk to them about like bowls and quilts and stuff like that. Even though it was like a group of like 6 or 7 people, that was the first time I stood up in front of, like, apart from school, in front of strangers and had to talk to them. And that really did. Direct sales can really help develop your sales and talking in front of people skills. It's a great industry for a lot of people.
Yeah.
But that's where I first started on my journey of speaking in public. But now I never think about myself. When I stand up in front of people, it's not about me.
Yeah. I think that's there's two things kind of wrapped in that I want to just highlight. So first, I think what helps ease the tension of the room, both yourself and the room, is kind of like you said, you're speaking towards people, but have them interactive. You know what I mean? And that doesn't mean that you literally call on somebody and say, what do you think of this or whatever.
Although sometimes I do.
No, but it doesn't hurt. You know what I mean? Like if you do things that all of a sudden get them thinking about their own lives, you know what I mean? So I mean interactive, where you're not just talking at people, but you're including them into the topic. Whether maybe you do a funny joke where everybody laughs, or you're like show of hands this or whatever, it all of a sudden, when people start feeling a part of whatever you're speaking about, it's less of a show and tell and more like a conversation, if that makes sense.
Well, I remember at one of the seminars that I went to on speaking, the guy said it's about the spectacle. It's actually not about the speech, which I thought was really interesting because, studies show that people only remember 10% of what they hear anyway. And think about it this way. Like if you watch a comedy special or you go to a comedy show, you laugh and you laugh and you laugh. And then the next day, somebody's like, oh, was it good? And you're like, yeah, you remember the laughing. You remember the spectacle. But then do you remember all the jokes? You don't. You don't. If you can remember like one or two, like you're a special human being, like really. And you can't even relate them the same way that the comedian did. So a lot of times people aren't going to remember the words that you say. They're going to remember the feelings that happened. And so like I just spoke this morning in a group of like 50 people, and like I'm hoping that I conveyed like motivation, and I'm hoping that it was quiet. So I seemed to like engage them in the topic and give them information that they can take and remember and work with. And so they're not going to remember what I was wearing. They're not going to remember like, if I messed up or I said, which I don't say.
Well, the one thing she has a bell that she holds. So she had the bell and she was holding it, and you look like Captain Hook because it had the round part of the stick where it's like, aye, matey.
I didn't do that for my long presentation. That was just in the beginning.
No, but
I hold the center of the bell so it doesn't ring.
Right.
It's a cast iron bell.
Yeah.
Probably why my arms are so fit. They're heavy.
No, but I think another thing I think is also just making it relatable. I think if you, like I said, if a lot of times when people talk in public, they'll feel I have to project that I'm some expert in this industry. And then you use these vocabulary words that wouldn't normally even sound like you, or you use such specific industry terms or terminology that it like literally flies over everyone's head. I remember when I was head of the creative department in Cadbury Schweppes, we'd have these meetings every so often. So we had our office in New York, and there was another office in Texas, and the speaker would rotate every month. At one point it'd be in New York, and the other person would be on like a live feed video. So I remember the first one I went to, the person got up and they're like, oh, we're going to do the BDF to the FFQ and then AAA. And everyone's like, what are they even talking about? Like, so they went through all these acronyms that everyone's just like, do you know what BFD is? Do you know what, like nobody knew what they were talking about. That they actually, the next one, they handed out handbooks of acronym, like an acronym library that they're talking, and everyone's like, oh, it means work better together. That's what WBT is. I
would be like, WTF.
Exactly. I think that's what everyone was like, see ya, But it is one of those, you do want to know your audience. You know what I mean? Be also understand kind of the age, what is the point of them being there? Were they forced to go there? Did they pay money to be there? Are they going to have kids with, like, these are all things to keep in mind. So,
people are going to have kids in the audience. You watch yourself.
Yeah, you got to watch with, the language you use or the inferences
or the
you use.
Yeah, the innuendos.
Yeah.
Like that.
Yeah.
I think the main number one key is practice. The more you do it, the more comfortable you'll be. And it's unfortunate because I've seen people like in the networking group that Antoinette and I belong to, I've seen them join and they're so nervous about speaking about their own business for 35 seconds. And then you can see like after months and months and after a year, how more comfortable they get more comfortable. They may never get over the complete like anxiety of the whole thing, but they get more comfortable doing it and they're able to do it. And it's just practice, 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 practice. You can practice by yourself in front of the mirror. You can practice like by recording yourself. You can go to groups and practice. I think like when you go to certain, if you do like a Bible study and something, smaller groups, you can practice a lot in smaller group settings. There's Bible studies like every day, everywhere
Yeah.
in the United States.
And
if you're in another country.
what's good about a Bible study too, like if you go to one of these groups, they'll put you on the spot. Like, hey, Laura's going to close out today's session with a prayer. And then you're like,
oh,
I am.
that's really super hard.
But then you realize, I think so many people get so nervous, like, oh my God, what if I say something bad? People aren't really that into what you say. You know what I mean?
Oh my God. Everybody has the attention span of a goldfish.
Oh, I know. And kind of like what Laura said, people care more about, the feelings they produce. Like even when it comes to like boyfriend-girlfriend relationships, you could say anything you want, but if you make that person feel like happy and loved and whatever, you could come at them with, I really kind of hate when you know what I mean? But as long as they feel loved and appreciated, where you could be the sweetest person in the world, but if they think no matter what I do or say, I'm never going to make them happy or, be able to break them down where they're just themselves. They always have this wall up. Like,
well, I think about a famous comedian and like I hate to mention people's names, but he used to break watermelons on stage.
Oh, yes.
I don't remember any of his jokes.
No.
Literally none. I remember what he looks like, and I remember him smashing watermelons on stage, and I remember people covering themselves up and whatever. But that spectacle is really what people remember him for.
Yeah.
Like breaking watermelons on stage. I remember zero of his jokes. If he wrote a book, I have no idea.
Yeah.
Like literally don't know anything about his life except he broke watermelons on stage with this big mallet.
His shtick. Yeah.
Yeah. It was the spectacle. And when people would go to his show, they were like prepared for it. They were waiting for it. They thought it was hilarious. And like, that's what they would talk about the next day. Oh my God, he was so funny. And he smashed the watermelon. Did you get watermelon on you? Like,
yeah,
watermelon is sticky, by the way. Anyway, but like, it's the spectacle. Like the Blue Man Group. I went to go see Blue Man Group.
Oh, they're cool.
I thought it was really cool and whatever. But would it be as cool if they weren't blue?
No.
No, right? It's a spectacle.
And they don't even speak. I mean, the whole entire, you are literally riveted in your chair watching these people not even open their mouths.
Yeah, at all.
At all.
But the spectacle.
Yeah.
The spectacle, they're blue.
Yeah.
And it's been a great branding for them.
Yeah.
Obviously. So like in the training that I went to, it said like, interact with people. Like in one of the trainings, they said like they had like super balls. And they would just like bounce them and it hit the ceiling and and people like, oh my gosh, that person was so funny. They were bouncing super balls. Like they were throwing gifts into the audience. Like people remember the spectacle.
Yeah.
So like, and practice it. If you're nervous about bouncing super balls or you're nervous about tossing pens to people or whatever, practice it. Like practice, 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 practice. Really, it's a very important skill to have in life. So if you think about it, like I've been through all different things. I've been through a divorce. I had to represent myself in court. I had to represent myself in the appellate court in Boston. I had to stand up in front of appellate judges where only usually lawyers, people don't usually represent themselves pro se. But because I'm good at speaking, I was able to articulate what I wanted to say in a manner that I prevailed. And so like, it's a very good skill to have. It's a good skill to have at church. It's a good skill to be able to stand up and, the Bible talks about evangelizing. Like, you can't spread his message without talking to people.
Yeah.
And it's great to talk to people one-to-one, but you can help a lot more people if you talk to people in groups. So it's a fantastic skill to have. They really should develop it more in school.
Yeah, one thing that just popped in my head, and it's not that I did it ever, and I have no applicable experience with it. But I think there are so many things where you could have public speaking 101 or whatever and go through this stuff. But if you're too nervous to do something like that, maybe do like a Toastmasters. That's the thing I said I didn't. So instead of it being like you have to do a 15-minute speech. Maybe you just get up and, and at least then you're kind of the center, people eyes on you, and it's just something for a small little snippet of a toast, but the whole point is to get somebody interacting or happy or whatever. I mean, like I said, that just kind of popped in my head, but I could see that maybe being a good baby step to doing something.
I mean, let's address the elephant in the room though, but like,
did I gain weight?
No. The elephant in the room is people's fear, right? So, like when I started playing roller derby, a friend of mine, one of my very best friends, she said, "Do you want to do this?" And I have this thing like, I'll say yes if I don't have a good reason to say no. So I'm like, yes, sure, I want to play roller derby. So we start roller derby. The new group is called like Fresh Meat, which is like weird. But what's our first fear is falling. That's the first fear. I'm on roller skates. I'm in my 30s at this point. Like, I'm afraid to fall. And so the first entire class, all we did, we had very thick knee pads, fall, 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 fall. Must have done it like 20, 30 times. We must have fallen. And then we realized, oh, well, we're not afraid to fall anymore because, like, we're not going to get hurt. If we fall properly. They taught us how to properly fail. And so in speaking, there are going to be people in that room that are judging you. There's going to be people that don't like the way you speak. There's going to be people that don't like the words that you say, that don't resonate with your message. Let's just address the elephant in the room. I promise you that if you speak in front of a room, you are not going to connect with everybody. People are going to be like, oh, she looks fat in that. Or stuff like they're gonna say things to themselves, or I didn't think that person was that funny, or I didn't think that person was that engaging, I didn't think that person was that motivating. Those people are gonna be there. But if there's one single person in that room that you help, it was important that you got up in front of that group. That's what I always think.
Yeah.
If there's one person that you helped improve their life, then it was important that you got in front of that group. Even if the other 99 hated you, it was still important.
The other thing that I think it's important to say too is I think a lot of people, what they do is they're nervous, and then they wait till something that's really important that they have to do, and then that's really their first attempt.
No.
We're kind of like, you said it, like practice makes perfect, like that's what helps you. But same thing, like in a dating situation, people get so nervous to even go up to somebody new or different or whatever that, if you just start at, let's say, a grocery line where you don't have any interest in these people, they're not attractive, maybe it's a mom and her kids, you just want to start just talking. Just start talking, where you all of a sudden start interacting and they interact back. And then you just get more comfortable around people that you don't know. You know what I mean? I think that's a really good precursor to then when you comes to the point where there is somebody that you really need to speak to, or there is a work presentation that is important and you could potentially get a lot of clients from this, or it could advance your career, it's not the first time.
Yeah, right. I don't understand, like, I know this advice has floated around, and I really don't understand. Picture the audience naked.
I was going to bring that up, and I don't know where that came from, but
first of all,
I don't want to see the audience naked.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
God, no.
Yeah. Have you seen how fat America's gotten?
Oh, my. People are out of shape with the dad bods and the wrinkly raisin. No, the
wrinkly raisin.
I don't even know where that came from.
No.
If you're using that as advice to public speaking, don't. That's just so bizarre.
I saw, actually, this was funny. It was like a Saturday Night Live skit with, like, it was Pamela Anderson back in her heyday. And she's like, I'm really nervous to be in front of a live audience. She goes, but I think my mom told me I'm supposed to picture you guys naked. And then she's like, no, maybe I was supposed to get naked. So she starts taking off her clothes and everyone's laughing, but
I'm going to go and watch it.
But it was funny, but it was like,
I really don't understand where that advice came from. I don't think that's good advice. I've never used it. I don't think it's good at all.
And I think an important thing you have to do is be able to laugh at yourself. I think it's one of those things that I can easily laugh at myself. I screw up all the time. I know there are times I'm like, oh my God, I can't believe I said that. I can't believe I did that. I think you have to get to that level too. You know what I mean? There's so many people that are so worried about this pretend little existence they have on social media where I can't flub. My kids are perfect. My, clothes are perfect. My makeup's perfect. The only perfect person that ever existed was Jesus. And none of us will come even a close second. Deal with it. Stop pretending, because it doesn't make you more likable or relatable or anything.
Here's a tip for you guys. So I'm nearsighted. So anything past I don't know, maybe 10 meters starts to get blurry, and then the further it goes, it gets blurrier. I actually got glasses with their very low prescription because I was at construction. I lived in Massachusetts where every season is construction and on the roads, and I couldn't tell if the guy was telling me to stop or no. So it's I probably should get glasses. It's starting to get a little hairy here. But sometimes when I speak in front of a group, I don't wear my glasses. And so everybody's blurry. That actually helps.
Yeah.
I think it would help. Yeah. For me, it doesn't, I don't really care. I don't care if I can see the people or not. But I'm thinking if you're standing on a stage in front of thousands of people and you really can't see anybody because just take your glasses off.
Really?
Then you can just pretend you're talking to one person. Because I really do think it's weird. I hope I'm not going to destroy anybody's confidence, but I do think it's weird. Another piece of advice people have said, well, just focus on somebody in the audience that you're comfortable with.
No, don't do that.
Because I think when somebody's speaking to an audience and they stare down a particular person, it's creepy.
Yeah, very creepy.
It's very creepy.
You want your gaze to go span the audience.
You can look at their foreheads. If you don't want to look them in the eye, you can look at their foreheads.
I know I look out and whatever, but I don't really focus on anything. I'm just kind of in my own little world.
Yeah, I do make a lot of eye contact. But if you're not comfortable with the eye contact because that makes you nervous, you can look at people's foreheads. Then it makes them think that you're looking at their eyes because they can't. You're far enough away.
Yeah.
And it makes them feel special.
And the other thing, sometimes people get what if this or what if that? Sometimes if you point out something that's weird or going on or going wrong, it actually makes the whole thing people will laugh and enjoyable. I'm just thinking if someone was doing a presentation at that networking group and there was someone else in the group, I don't know what they were doing. They were in a bag. I don't know if they're eating popcorn or whatever. And there was all this noise coming from a corner. For some reason, she's just what are you doing?
Oh, yeah, that's right.
And everyone kind of laughed and they were sorry, and then you moved on. But sometimes if there's something that's really distracting you
just address it.
Just address it. It's gonna, And it's easy. Just move it along.
I remember I spoke for a women's group 2 years ago, and the heel on my shoe broke. Which just happens, especially happens to me because my husband's you just literally walk out of your shoes. They separate. I just keep them for so long. My feet haven't grown in 30 years, and I buy classic type stuff. But the heel broke. And so I was oh my gosh. Now I could have been embarrassed, nervous, what am I going to do? But I just worked it into my presentation. When I was talking about people, I talked to them about how you have to, in a business, you have to react to things immediately when they happen. I said, for example, none of you have noticed yet that my left shoe has no heel. And I've been walking around here and it happened, and my immediate thought was really? I cannot believe this. Should I go barefoot? What do I do? Now one foot's higher than the other. I'm trying to assess how to solve this problem. Then I was pick it. I'm gonna just that's my last name. I'm just gonna wear them because I don't want to go barefoot because I think that's gross. But I'm just gonna wear them and work it into my presentation about how unexpected things are going to happen.
Yeah.
And you still have to move forward, and you still have to be as confident as you possibly can be. And so I just used it. I addressed it, right? Because I was thinking to myself, what if somebody does realize?
And they're yeah.
They're what? This woman's a financial coach and she's coming here with her shoes broke.
I remember I was watching a YouTube video and this guy's glasses are this. So he finally said, sorry, but literally right before I got here, it broke. So he's he had no...
Yeah, so then nobody cares about it anymore.
So otherwise I'm looking what is this guy, a retard? at least...
Well, I don't think you can say that.
But it's one of those that you move past. But one thing that I just wanted to say, exactly, would you hire her as a financial coach?
I'm thinking today we're going to talk about...
No, But the one thing that I was thinking about, like very early on, where I said I wasn't born with an embarrassment gene, and I think part of it because I was such an outcast so early in life. So, for example, when I was born, I didn't speak English; I spoke Polish. So then,
Really? I didn't speak at all when I was born. It took like 9 months to. Yeah. I'm just kidding.
I came out speaking full sentences in Polish. Actually, my first word was a first sentence, but that's a different story. So anyway, but it was one of those. So when we moved, my sister's friends would come over and no one could understand what I was saying. And then my mom used to crochet us these hats with these like a string and a pony. No one was wearing what we were wearing. Like we looked like retards.
Again with the word. She means it in a positive way.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. We looked
unique.
Silly. Yeah. So we looked silly and we were ostracized and people would make fun of us and,
people are cruel. We're bad people.
Other kids would like pull on the thing or make fun of me. And it just got to the point where at some point you just got to develop thick skin. So again, I think if you're trying to help your kids, again, I'm not saying, dress them in embarrassing things, but it's okay if they get embarrassed. It's okay that developing that thick skin at an earlier age, it just gets easier and easier. If you had a bunch of embarrassing moments when you're 5 versus when you're 50, they hit you way differently.
Oh yeah,
you know what I mean?
My youngest son too. Like sometimes I say to him, "Do you care?" And he's like, "Nah, I don't care." Like that. Maybe he got a stain on his shirt or something. I'm like, "Do you care?" He said, "Nah, I don't care." Like there really is something freeing, I suppose, to give that to the next generation. Of like, nothing's ever going to be perfect.
Yeah.
And it's okay if it's unique or imperfect.
Yeah.
Like, and if people pick on you, that's their problem, not yours.
Exactly.
There's something wrong with them that they're judging you because that's in the Bible. Don't judge.
Yeah. But I think it's one of those things, if you have something weird, like a third arm growing out of your chest, address it. You know what I mean? Like, don't sit there and just make it like, I hope no one pays attention to,
I remember this movie I watched, and it was with a famous rapper, and he went into a rap battle, and it was all like they had to just come up with it on the fly, and he addressed all of his issues. He's like, "You're going to talk about me living in a trailer. You're going to talk about me," like,
yeah.
And then the other guy had nothing to say,
yeah,
because he anticipated he was going to try and rap and make fun of this rapper. And you guys were all like, "Oh, that was Eminem." Yes, it was Eminem.
Yeah.
And but yeah, he addressed all of his issues, and he's like, "Okay, now what?"
Yeah. And even like I'll do presentations. So one of my my other business, I have a home inspection company. So if you don't know, apparently all home inspectors are male, except for me, or the majority of them are male. There's very
male dominated.
It's a male dominated. I didn't realize it when I got into it, but for whatever thing. So anytime I speak in front of a group, I do a joke when it's my first time there that let's address the elephant in the room, which is why I said, "Are you talking about me?" But and then I'll just say, "Yes, I do know I'm a female, and I do again. I just don't want to sit there talking where the whole time they're like, 'Well, she's a female. Can she really do that?' Just get out of the way."
Caught in the attic.
Yeah, did she wear heels on the you
on
know
the
what
roof.
I mean? Silly stuff where if you just address it, then move along. Yeah. You know what I mean? And then rather than someone the whole time you're talking, they're just thinking. So. Ooh,
I know. We're getting the hook. We're going to wrap things up. Our next topic is, we've talked about how to deal with difficult people, but how do you deal with difficult people in your family? Because friends can come and go, but family, especially if they're close family, you want them to stay. And so how do you deal with, conflict and difficulties that arise within your family, whether it's your spouse or your siblings or your parents or like the really close family? How do you deal with those situations? So we're going to talk about that next on Chit Chat Chill.
Yeah. And I think everybody has that crazy uncle or the crazy this or the, and some of those things are what makes them unique. But yeah, definitely. I think it'll be a funny, super funny topic, but a little tough to discuss too. But until then, never stop laughing.
And never stop learning. We'll see you soon.
things are truly better with us.